thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt, you know the 10. I don't obey those. Matter of fact, there's 613 commandments within the law that none of us could obey. 613 commandments within the law. And then you only picked out 10?
That the law is not made for a righteous person, but for the lawless and insubordinate, for the ungodly and for sinners, for the unholy and profane.
Now, these Christians love to cut themselves, and when he used the 1 Timothy chapter 1 verse 8, and he went through 8 and 9 and maybe 10. Now that's the biggest cut on Christianity. See, that's what they do that to themselves, and you can tell it's a spirit on them. But let's get into the verse. 1 Timothy chapter 1 verse 8, it say, "But we know that the law is good if a man use it lawfully." Verse 9, it say, "Knowing this, that the law is not made for a righteous man." Okay, who is the law made for then? But for the lawless and disobedient. We're going to stop right there. So, if the law is made for the lawless, that means if you think you're going to be lawless, you need the law. If you think you don't need the law, you need the law. If you want to disobey the law, you need the law. If you want to be ungodly, you need the law. If you want to be a sinner, which is the transgression of the law, breaking the law, you need the law. The law was made for you. If you don't want to be separate from the world and be an Israelite, the law is made for you. You want to kill your mother and your father, your forefathers, the law is made for you. You want to pimp women, sleep with the same sex, lie, the law is made for you. That's what the verse is talking about. It's not talking about people that believe in Christ or Yahushua, who they ignorantly call Jesus Christ. The law is not made for people that just believe. I mean, the law is not made for a righteous man. So when you believe, you become a righteous man. You in the law, you can be lawless now. You can be disobedient now. That's what he's saying. You can be ungodly. You can be a sinner. You can be a murderer, a liar, a stealer. These people are something wrong with them, man. Because this thing is too clear. I'm going to read the whole verse over. It says, this 1 Timothy, the first chapter, verse 8 and 9. It says, "But we know that the law is good." That just tell you the whole deal right there. If a man use it lawfully. Verse 8, it say, "But we know that the law is," verse 9, Salakia. "Knowing this, that the law is not made for a righteous man," meaning it's not made for somebody that's going to keep the law, because that's what the righteous man is. Let's get that real quick. Deuteronomy 6:25. It say, "It shall be our righteousness if we observe to do all his commandments." See, that's what righteousness is. Righteousness is not just some kind of feeling or some kind of title. It means you're doing the right thing and not the wrong thing. What is wrong with these people? It got to be a spirit on these people. It got to be a major spirit on these Christians to come out their mouth and say that the law, they don't got to keep the 10 Commandments. Really? Are you serious? You righteous because you make a statement. You made a statement that made you righteous. Now, when they go to James and they say, what James 2 and 10, and they say, for whosoever shall keep the whole law and yet offend in one point, he is guilty of all. Now, first of all, he was breaking down on how the nation couldn't keep all the laws. And that was the whole deal. It wasn't that they couldn't keep the law. They just couldn't keep it perfectly. And that wasn't even really the whole deal, because it's just like with let's get Romans, man, because see, this is really what the situation is. People talking about a law. See, it's not about the law. The nation of Israel, yes, they couldn't keep the law, but it was for a purpose. Look at Romans 9 and 11. It say, for the children being not yet born, neither having done any good or evil. See, before they couldn't keep the law, before they failed at keeping the law, what was going on? Let me Romans 9 and 11. For the children being not yet born, neither having done any good or evil, that the purpose of God according to election might stand, not of works. It ain't have nothing to do with them not keeping the law or keeping the law. Not of works. It wasn't because they couldn't keep the law. It had nothing to do with that. That first covenant had nothing to do with them not keeping the law. Because guess what? That the purpose of God had to go into effect. That's what it was all about. See, the law was just a schoolmaster. It was teaching you the righteousness of the Lord and how things is going to go in the kingdom. But it was not the deciding factor if the nation failed. That was not the deciding factor. It was that the Most High had a purpose and a plan. See, because he could have put it into the spirit of man not to break the law, just like he gonna put it into their hearts. Let's get that in. See, he could have did this from the beginning. Hebrews 8 and 8. No, not 8 and 8. Let's do Hebrews 8 and 10. It say, for this is the covenant that I would make with the house of Israel after those days, says the Lord. I will put my laws in their mind. See, that's what he could have did from the beginning. He could have put his laws in their mind. And it wouldn't been no situation where you talking about the nation of Israel couldn't keep the law. It wouldn't have been no situation with people talking about works. This is a part of the Lord's plan. This is a part of the Lord's plan. And you have to go along with his plan. If he tells you to keep the law, if he tells you to do anything, you got to do it. But don't say you don't gotta do it because people couldn't do it in the past. What mess does, who is that crazy? If the Lord tell you to do something, you gotta do it. It's that easy, man. It's not hard. Oh, these people couldn't do it, so we couldn't do it. We ain't got to do it. What? Romans 13 and 8, it say, owe no man anything but to love one another, for he that loveth another has fulfilled the law. Verse 9, for this thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness, thou shalt not covet. If there be any other commandment, it is briefly comprehended or understood, namely, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. Verse 10, love worketh no ill to his neighbor, therefore love is the fulfilling of the law. Meaning you can't break the law and say that you love somebody. Love worketh no ill. That means it's not doing something. Love is not going to break the law. That's what it's saying. Love worketh no ill. Love do not break the law. When you break the law, you working ill. You are working ill when you breaking that law. You're not loving somebody when you talking about you ain't got to keep no law. The law didn't have nothing to do with the nation of Israel falling. That was the purpose of the Most High. If he wanted them to keep the law, they would have kept the law. He was using the law to be a tutorer, to teach them something. It was about them learning the lesson. That's why he blotted out the law. Let's go to that Colossians 2 and 14, because see, they love these verses. It say, verse 14, it say, blotting out the handwriting of ordinances that was against us, which was contrary to us, and took it out of the way, nailing it to his cross. See, everything, all the mistakes and the breaking of the law that they was doing to get them thrown into captivity so many times, thrown into slavery so many times, he nailed all that stuff on the cross and made a sacrifice for all of those sins, so they as a nation can go into the kingdom and get those laws put into their mind. Not so they can, after he give up the spirit, they can go out and eat a nasty, filthy, stinking pig and just forget about the whole law, go to killing people and sleeping with people, women. He didn't put nothing on no cross for that. That was their past sins. Look at verse 13. It said, and you being dead in your sin and circumcised in your flesh, he hath quickened together with him, having forgiven you all trespasses. That's what he was putting on the cross, the forgiveness. That's what he was talking about. He was talking about the forgiveness of what they had did already that was against them. He wasn't talking about the righteousness, throwing righteousness in the garbage, doing the right thing in the garbage. He didn't nail doing the right thing on the cross. That is a demonic spirit. It got to be an angel blinding these people on some mess like that, because that don't even make no sense. No sensible, logical person would even come to that conclusion. These people are coming to that conclusion, so it proves that it's spirits out here, man, and they working strong. And you just like, let's go back to Rome. See, because if everything was just you do what you want to do, you probably could do that law, but it ain't about that. That's Romans 9 And to 19 it say, thou wilt say unto me, why do he yet find fault? For who hath resisted his will? See, who done did what they wanted to do and that went outside of the plan of the Most High? Nobody goes outside of his plan. His will is his plan. His purpose is his plan. You ain't going outside of that. See? And the people can't ask him and say, why you finding fault? Why you gonna punish her for doing the wrong thing? You can't come to him with that kind of mess. He can make a plan and do what he wanted to do with the plan. Verse 20 it say, now but oh man, who are you that replies against God? Who are you, man? Try to tell him what's going on. He got a plan on how things gonna go. You just experience his plan. That's all you can do. You finna experience his plan. But don't try to convince people that if he telling you to do something, you ain't gotta do it. Let's get John 9 and 31. It say, now we know that God heareth not sinners. See, he ain't even hearing you if you're not keeping that law. If you're not trying to do what he telling you to do, he not hearing you, man. This is a common knowledge of anybody that's dealing with the Most High. That was a common knowledge. The Israelites understood that. Say, but if any man be a worshiper of God and doeth his will, keepeth his law, he heareth. What's wrong with these people? Ooh, they replying against God, man. That's what they doing. Proverbs 28 and 9. It say, he that turneth away his ear from hearing the law, even his prayer shall be an abomination. For him to make that statement, why in the world would he change, which he say he don't change in Malachi 3 and 6, but why would he change and then tell people you can do whatever you want to do? Just make sure you keep quoting that you believe in my son that came and made a sacrifice for the nation. That's insanity, man. And they love running to Paul. Paul said, go to Paul's letter and read what Paul said. Well, read this what Paul said. Romans 2 and 13. For not the hearers of the law are justified before God, but the doers of the law shall be justified. Romans 3 and 31. Do we then make void the law through faith? God forbid. Yeah, we establish the law. How you finna sit up here and tell somebody that you gonna not do the law? Romans 6 and 1, it say, what shall we say then? Shall we continue in sin? Meaning, can we continue just breaking the law, doing what we want to do, that grace may abound? Verse 2, God forbid. How shall we that are dead to sin live any longer therein? See, how you gonna sit up here and say you just gonna break the law, man? We ain't got to keep the law. Romans 6 and 15. What then? Shall we sin because we are not under the law, but under grace? God forbid. So you can't run to Paul and try to say he can justify some you sinning. You trying to justify it, but you can't run to him and prove that, man. And guess what? Apostle Paul, what did the apostles do with Apostle Paul? They came to Apostle Paul and told him he had to do something. What is it? 21:21. Let's get there. And I'm going to end it on that. Acts 21:21 is saying they are informed of thee that thou teachest all the Jews which are among the Gentiles. See, he was teaching the Jews. He wasn't teaching no non-Jews. That's a lie. He said that thou teachest all the Jews um, which are among the Gentiles. They was calling them Gentiles because they was among the Gentiles, living with the darn heathen, doing what the heathens was doing. He said this Acts 21:21, and they are informed of thee. That means we've been told that you teaching all the Jews which are among the Gentiles to forsake Moses, saying that they ought not to circumcise their children, neither walk after the custom, neither walk after the law. We've been hearing, you've been teaching these other Israelites that don't follow the law, that they Israelites, and they don't have to follow the law. Verse 22, what is it therefore that the multitude must needs come together, for they will hear that thou art come. Verse 23 says, do therefore this that we say to you. We have 4 men which have a vow on them. So now he finna check. He telling Paul, man, we got 4 men, and you need to go prove to these other Jews that's coming from Jerusalem that was born keeping the law. You got to go prove to them that you keeping this law, man. Look at what they say in 24. This Act 21:24. Take them, purify thyself with them, and be at charges with them, that they may shave their heads. Meaning, okay, do something that's in the law to tell these other Israelites and show these other Israelites, the Jews, that you keeping the law. And all may know that those things that were informed concerning you are nothing. See, they gonna know that you haven't been telling them not to circumcise their children, and you haven't been telling them not to keep the custom and the laws. The verse 24 goes on to say, but that thou thyself art also walketh orderly and keepeth the law. How you gonna go to Paul and the head apostles was telling Paul to go and prove that he was keeping the law? Prove to these Jews that you is not teaching these Israelites that's learning that they Israelites, because he say teaching all the Jews that's among the Gentiles. You're not telling these Israelites that they don't got to keep the law. Go prove this. Take 4 men, practice the law, and prove it. How is somebody going to tell you, let's go to Paul? Let's go to the New Testament. Because Paul wrote 14 books in the New Testament. So they like to run to the New Testament. And a lot of those books was written before Acts was written. See, Acts was one of the last books that was written. See, that's what people don't understand. Luke was written after Galatians, Thessalonians, Corinthians. All these Corinthian letters and stuff was going out before. Peter was one of the books written after this, because Peter said that people gonna get destroyed by misunderstanding Paul, for misunderstanding what Paul was trying to do. He was telling them, like Romans said in chapter 9, it's bigger than the law. It's the purpose of God, man. God got a purpose, and he got prophecies. We got to go by the prophecy. That's what Isaiah 8:20. To the law and to the testimony. If they do not speak according to this word, is no light in them. See, the testimony is the prophecy. Now let's get that in I'm gonna end on this. Revelation 9:10. I'm gonna just read the bottom of the verse. It say, for the testimony of Yahushua is the spirit of prophecy. See, unto the law and to the testimony. Yes, it's according to that law, but it's bigger than the law. It's that testimony, them prophecies that is what's going to be done. The purpose of God, his purpose is bigger than you trying to be justified by following some ordinances. Oh, you gotta, you can't eat pigs and you can't sleep with nobody woman. You can't murder nobody. Oh, you good from here on out. You don't got to worry about nothing else. No, you have to worry about those things, but it's bigger than that. It's bigger than just talking about laws and teaching laws. It's prophecy. Prophecy, the Messiah. That's the big thing. You can't forget the prophecy. We got to focus on the prophecy because that's gonna let you know what's going on. The law is just obeying the Most High, so he can still listen to you and hear you, because he not listening to you if you ain't listening to his commandment. You might as well hang it up. And if you're not loving your neighbor, you working ill on your neighbor. He not listening to you if you working ill on your neighbor. But it's bigger than that. You got to be into the prophecies. You got to be having faith in the prophecies. That's the other big thing. And Paul was trying to get this across to them, but they was like, you teaching them that what you saying in your letters, man, it seemed like you trying to tell them they ain't got to worry about the law. He was trying to get them to have faith in Yahushua and the prophecy. But I'm going to leave it there. All praise to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Ba'ashem Kakadash, double honors to the elders pushing the truth, peace to the elect worldwide, to the blacks, Hispanic, Native Americans, descendants of slaves, scattered around the globe. Our kingdom is at hand. Shalom.